Hey guys, Dave with Moneyology here. Hope everyone is having a great weekend. Today's May 23rd, 2021. This is a crypto sector review. Those of you who have been following my weekend premium reviews know that we've been covering Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, and Ripple for probably over a year now from a technical standpoint. And I've been casually observing this market for about a decade. And obviously, with all these altcoins coming on, it was pretty apparent to me that this sector was in for a pretty nasty correction. The question became for me is when it would come. As a fundamental investor that uses technical analysis to really understand trends and when to get into sectors and markets, etc., crypto was very hard for me because I didn't know how to value it. That's just the hard truth, and therefore I stayed away. We traded Ripple here and there, but for the most part, we were not investing in crypto. But for me, this is a case study in technical analysis. I think most of the crypto trend over the last 12 months was largely due to technical analysis. So when people post responses to individuals posting on Twitter, and they say, well, technical analysis shows your biases, and yeah, it does. But the reality is that just like technical analysis spurred many of the trades to the upside, it's going to do the same thing to the downside. And so I wanted to use this video as an opportunity to look at 20 plus coins here and see what they're suggesting. And I have no dog in the fight. Like I said, I'm not investing in these, but I do want to use this as a education tool. And so therefore I'm going to make this available to the general public. So first and foremost, what is negative divergence? Negative divergence is this idea that when you have two price points, let's say 580 here, and in this case it was roughly 650, you had substantially lower momentum on the higher price point here than on a lower price point here. So that's how I do my technical analysis. There are people who use so many different indicators, and kudos to them. Every approach is unique in its own way and has merit potentially. But my approach is very simple. How is price doing relative to momentum? And that tells me a heck of a lot about not necessarily where the price is going to go, but certainly whether a bottom is in. So when I see negative or potentially a top, when I see negative divergence like this, where this was rejected at a very important Fibonacci level and an attempt at a breakout at a higher high and reverse lower, this would have been a clear sign if I had owned this particular coin to sell here, assuming I was doing it for trading purposes. Well, now where are we? Well, below 50 is a critical indicator that we are now in a bearish trend. The fact that we are setting new lows in momentum. Now, granted, a lot of the charts here that we'll be going through don't have too long a history, but certainly the fact that we're below 50 on RSI suggests we are in a bearish trend. And so the question is, without much support here, where do we find it? Really, the price support comes in around, let's say, roughly 95 to 100. That's where I would be a buyer if I wanted to own this particular crypto. Now, for those new to our videos as well, you're going to see lines here. These are Fibonacci levels that are very important in my eyes, and these represent momentum. RSI, Relative Strength Index, is one such momentum gauge. So this particular line is an approximately 30.9 Fibonacci level. This is 38.2. 50 is not necessarily a Fibonacci level, but it is a critical RSI line of demarcation, whether it's in a bull trend or bear trend. 61.8 and 69.1. If you subtract 1 minus 69.1, you get 30.9. If you subtract 1 minus 61.8, you get 38.2, and so on. And so it's very interesting how often these levels hold. And as a trader, I value momentum more than price. Most people do it the other way around. That's on them to do. All right, so let's take a look at Cardano. I've heard a lot about Cardano in terms of its value as a coin. And certainly when I look at the price of this, it's one of the better looking charts as a general rule. But with that said, if it doesn't hold this 99 cent level, let's say even going back 90 cent level, this is a critical point of support. If this does not hold here, this is going to break down and go all the way to 40 cents. There's not much support here. This is a lot of kind of the opposite of what one might call blue sky breakout. When I look at momentum, RSI has definitely broken down. And while it's not below 50, so this is going to be one of the stronger coins eventually when the cycle turns. This particular coin has broken down. The question is how fast it goes lower. Does it find support here in the 90 to $1.40 range, $1.50, or does it break down? And if it breaks down, I'm warning you, it's going to fall very, very hard. Cosmos. So Cosmos here also had substantially negative divergence, right? Could not make new highs, attempted to do so here. And when that broke, the story was written that this was going much lower. And notice how quickly it broke below the 50 RSI level. That's very, very important. And what do you know? It fell all the way back to support. Right now is support around $9 here. So the question becomes, is support going to hold here? And if it holds here, then this would be a great buying opportunity. However, with RSI below 50, I wouldn't want to own it here. The next support on RSI is really this 38.2 level. This is where we last broke out from this trend. So we're pretty close to it. Potentially support's coming in. We'll have to see how it plays out. But if this breaks below 925, then I think this is going to be the new range of support, which means it can go potentially much lower. All right, the big elephant, Bitcoin. So Bitcoin has been trading in a lot of cycles and arches. And arches are very, very important because they delineate very, very nicely trends. And as you see here, we've been covering this for a while. We had these the initial arch breakout was above 500. That took it all the way up to 19,870. Pulled back and created another large arch, and even in between two arches here, and then broke out above the neckline around 1,400, and then went to 64,900. But notice what was happening here. On these higher highs, momentum kept making lower highs, and that's critically important, and that momentum has broken down without a doubt. So while we're still at support here, I'm not suggesting this is going to break lower necessarily. Support here around between 27,500 and roughly 32,000 is going to be strong support. But RSI has already broken down. And I say this based on looking at tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of charts over the last decade and a half. And I tell you that 99.9% of the time, momentum leads price. And when RSI has broken down as it has, I'm pretty confident that this 27,500 level is going to break lower. And if it does, where does the next support come in? Well, the first logical and probably base case scenario is around 20,000, right? This was the previous point of resistance over here. But if that cannot, and this is also where we broke out, but if that can't hold, then 12,500 would be extremely strong support. So if I were a new investor and I wanted to buy into Bitcoin because I believe it is going to 100,000 or a million, I would be buying in tranches. First tranche, 27,500. Second tranche, 20,000. And third tranche is 12,500. And of course, if it reverses higher and it goes to 20,000, then reverses higher, then my third tranche would be back at that 27,500 level. But Bitcoin is very bearish right now, and I would I wouldn't be expecting a strong bounce back right now that's permanent. Binance coin. This is another coin that just from the chart standpoint looked pretty strong and built a very strong base here for about 2 years and finally broke out. But this uptrend has ended. Notice what happened on RSI. And so we're now below 50. If this 50 level cannot be recaptured very, very soon, I think we're headed back to retest this base around $40 because there's not much support here. We're below the 26-week moving average, the red line, and the 13-week moving average. This is a definite shift in momentum right now. Dash. So not sure where my lines went, but Dash also was a pretty solid chart here. We had this rounded bottom, but this arch is starting to break down. RSI has broken lower. And so the question is, where is there support? Well, there's probably support around this confluence around 50. That's where I'd be looking initially, or not 50 rather, but around 60 to 70. But if that level breaks, then there's really not much in terms of in terms of support. So I have no price targets on this one, but initially that 65 to 75 area would be my first level of support. All right, Dogecoin. So this is one that we've been following along with great interest for a while. But notice again what happened. At 9 cents, major momentum. At 74 cents, major momentum. But it was lower. So that's substantially negative divergence here on this higher high. And it's hard to make a higher momentum high, especially when you have much higher, well, you're already in extremely overbought condition. So bottom line is, where does Dogecoin go from here? Well, it broke below the critical 61.8 level. If it cannot recapture that to the upside, then the next target is going to be the 50 level. So problem is for Dogecoin, there's not much support until you get back to about the 8 cent level. So we'll be watching closely, but that would be my target right now, the 8 to 9 cent level, and then kind of see how it reacts at that 50 level, which would be logical support. EOS, well, we're breaking below the arch right now and we're trading at the lows. So if this breaks lower, I think we're headed towards the $2 level here on EOS. RSI below 50. I would say there's some support here. This is where we rallied last time around. So this would be a good bouncing spot. But if it cannot hold these levels, then we're headed towards the $2 range. All right, Ethereum. This has been our favorite coin for a while in terms of just understanding its technology. And if you've been following our videos, we started talking about it when it was breaking out above 450 here, and then again above 1400, and then above 2000. So it's not lost on us. But we've also been pointing out the negative divergence here versus this high, versus the previous high, a breakout above 2000. We also had a shooting star here, which is when we attempt to make new highs and cannot do it. And so these two candles are extremely bearish. If it cannot hold the 26 level of RSI, I could see Ethereum falling all the way to 1400 as a first target, but perhaps even more, all the way to $400. So be careful, guys, is all I'm saying. RSI is right now hovering over 50. If that level cannot hold, it's gonna be going much lower. Chainlink. Chainlink has broken down as well below the uptrend. It's broken down below RSI and below the 50 level. So Chainlink looks like the next target is around that $8 level. And if that breaks lower, then potentially around the $4 to $5 range. RSI is in, or rather the MACDs are in negative territory. So I think that it's going lower as well. Litecoin. So this has been a great coin, but look at this. It hit our target at 400, even exceeded it by a bit. And we thought it was breaking out here, right? And it could not hold this breakout level, confirmed negative divergence, and has taken a nosedive lower. If the next target really is 80 on Litecoin, that's more than a 50%. That's almost a 75% decline. And the MACDs are just now going to bearish territory. This is going to be in a bearish mode for a long time. I don't know if that's months. I don't know if that's years, but keep that in mind as you're allocating capital to that. Maker, another one that had a major breakdown. This was kind of like a bearish wedge that was developing, and once that broke down on negative divergence, down it went. But notice here, it broke even below the previous breakout point on RSI. So the next target would be around that 38.1 level, and we'll find support around 1750 potentially. But if that breaks, 750 will come in real fast time. NEO, so this broke the uptrend here. It broke the RSI uptrend. This was one of the best looking charts here, and again, this probably will recover fastest when things do turn around. But I think this is headed towards this $25 to $26 range. And if that breaks lower, the next point of support is roughly in the $12 to $15 range here. Polkadot, major breakdown below the 50 RSI level. We've been pointing out in our coverage. Actually, we have been covering Polkadot over the last couple of weeks. Polkadot had broken below this, or it broke below the 61.8 level, confirmed negative divergence, and now down it goes. What's surprising about this move is that I would have expected this to have bounced or at least found support at that 20 level. This was the previous breakout, but it didn't. And so the next price target is around the $10 to $12 range, and so the fact that everyone seems to be selling their positions could create a major flush lower in some of these cryptos. Uniswap, this one's well below the 50 RSI level. Next point of support here is around 5. That's probably where it's headed next. Stellar. So this was also one of the best looking coins. This is a gorgeous chart here. But if this arch does not hold, you're looking at a move potentially all the way back towards 10, 11 cents. And so we have to be cautious here. I'm only bullish on Stellar if this breaks back above 92 once again. Ripple. In our predictions at the year end of 2020, we said Ripple would be the best performing coin. We saw this chart, and we saw a beautiful chart, and we thought if it would break this dollar range, it would head to $3, and it almost did. Right? It broke out and it had great performance, but now it's breaking down. And in our view is on negative divergence. Our view is that this is going to go to retest 40 cents once again. So I don't expect it to hit $3 anytime soon. Algorand, this one's breaking down below 90 cents here and below the RSI support of both 50 and this trend line. And so the next target here is going to be 70 cents. If that breaks lower, it's going to be moving all the way down into the mid 40s. So with MACDs lower, I don't expect this to be, I expect this to create a base around these levels, but not going higher anytime soon. Bitcoin Cash, this one's breaking down as well below the 50. If it can't recapture that level and this breaks around 500, then I could see this consolidating here between 200 and 400 for potentially a couple of years. Monero, so this was another gorgeous chart. This is a rounded base that looked like it wanted to break out, and it wasn't even creating negative divergence. So when I look at all these charts, this looks to me like one of the best bases without negative divergence, and yet it broke down. And so the next target here is around 120, in my opinion. That's a major decline, but that's where I would expect support, and then we can kind of go from there. All right, a couple more coins here. Sia coin. This was a pretty good looking chart as well. No bearish divergence here. And so this is going to be one of the stronger coins, I think, when this shakes out. But can this go to 0.005 cents? Absolutely. It's broken down, and I think it's going to stay down for a while. The graph. This is a very bearish breakdown here. It doesn't have much price history, but below 50, this is going to be sold. Sandbox. So Sandbox below 20 cents. So 20 cents it would be logical support. But notice again, it's creating negative divergence, a lower momentum on a similar price point. So that's negative divergence. I think the next target here is around 8 to 9 cents if this breaks lower below 20 cents, which I think it will. Theta, gosh, I mean, I don't know what to make of this, but if this breaks this $4 support level or $5 support, I think it's going much lower. There's really not any price support here on Theta. Thorchain, it's already at support at $6. If this breaks below it, I think it's going back to about $1. Tron, so Tron was also one of the better looking charts here. It had a major base, really didn't break out, but I think it's headed towards about 3 cents here. So a lot more potential downside before some meaningful support kicks in. Zcash. Zcash also was a good looking chart. Looked like it wanted to break out above 380. Had nice momentum here versus the previous highs at this level. So no negative divergence, but this broke down really strongly. 100 would be that support level that I would have expected had I shot this video last week. But if this breaks, and it looks like it's going to, because momentum is creating lower momentum right now to the downside. So I think it's going to be moving towards the 50 level. And so again, a lot more downside potential. So all I'm saying, guys, is be careful. I have no dog in the fight. I want all of you guys to do and be successful when you're putting your hard-earned money to work. But bottom line is there's a trend change happening right now, and I want you to know that it's meaningful, and be careful is all I'm saying. Don't just start trying to pick bottoms, because that's very, very difficult to do. Anyway, have yourselves a great week, and I appreciate all your support. Take care.